welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about secondhand fashion. If you've been following me for a while, then you probably know that shopping pre-loved is my favorite way to add new things to my wardrobe. Not only can you make your budget extend further by getting a really high quality piece for a fraction of the price, but it's also a circular economy, so it's a much more sustainable way to shop as well. So what I thought I would do is share 5 secondhand or pre-loved purchases that I've made recently, and I'm going to talk about each item, why I decided to buy it, and then in the second half of this video I'm going to share some of my tips for how I buy pre-loved and how I come across the items that I've had on my wish list. And let me tell you, patience is definitely key. So let's just dive in with some of my pre-loved purchases. I've got some from eBay here and some from The RealReal, so I might start with The RealReal first, which if you aren't familiar with it, it's essentially just a consignment store, but they have an online shop. It's like Vestiaire Collective. I just find it really easy to use, and it's one that I've got on my phone, so I usually just browse through the app. So I decided to pick up this dress from Vince. Vince is a brand that I really love. I think they make very high quality but very effortless basics, things that are very simple, but they fit really well in with my own aesthetic and my personal style. So it's a sleeveless maxi length dress and it cinches at the waist, which I think is really nice and flattering. And I thought that this would be really perfect just for our transition through to spring and summer. Something that I could wear even now with tights and boots and a little turtleneck or something like that layered underneath, but that I could wear just as easily during the summer months with some pretty sandals. For me, versatility is really key when it comes to adding anything to my wardrobe. And that was definitely something that I looked for when I decided to pick up this piece. It is slightly sheer, so it's the kind of thing that I'm going to have to wear with a slip, but it fits really well. And one tip that I will say, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this more in the second half of this video, is make sure you know your sizing before you buy. So I tend to stick to brands that I know when I'm shopping secondhand or pre-loved. The second item I bought from The RealReal was again from Vince. Seem to be having a bit of a moment with this brand, but the quality of all their items is really nice, but they are so ridiculously expensive. Like, I think their t-shirts are over $100. Their knitwear usually is around the $400 to $500 mark plus. So for me, buying it pre-loved is a way for me to be able to buy into the brand without breaking the bank. So I got this grey cardigan, and this is almost like a cocoon style cardigan. It reminded me a little bit of the Acne Studios Raya cardigan, which is made from a mohair, and I have slightly sensitive skin and I do find that mohair can irritate my skin. So when I saw this, I thought it would be a nice alternative. It's 50% wool, 50% yak, and it is quite thick but really soft, and I loved the weave to the fabric, which hopefully you can see. It's really snug fitting through the arms, but then it has this almost waterfally type drape effect in the front, which was what I was looking for. I kind of wanted a cardigan that was a bit closer cut to the body. I've got this huge oversized cashmere cardigan from To Sir With Love, which I absolutely adore and I love wearing it. However, I find that sometimes it's a little bit too big for the sort of silhouette that I'm going for. So I wanted something that was a little bit more streamlined that I could wear day to day as well, just during the rest of winter. Then I want to talk about the items that I bought from eBay, and I tend to use eBay a little bit more for purchasing archive pieces from some of my favorite brands. So Karen Walker and Lover are definitely the key ones that I tend to look for on there. And it's because I really love a lot of the older designs, and they might be things that I either decided to declutter at one point or that at the time I didn't buy, because especially with Karen Walker, I was purchasing a lot of those one-off really beautiful prints that she creates and designs, but that weren't necessarily something I could wear over and over again. They were very much statement items. So the first piece, actually, it does come from Karen Walker, and this is a little striped t-shirt and a blue and white stripe with this ruffle detail on the sleeves. And what I liked about this was that it's a basic, but it's elevated. The ruffle sleeve detail is so fun, and honestly, I feel great when I put this on. I'm really excited about wearing this when it warms up a little bit, just because it looks amazing just paired with jeans tucked in, but it's also going to look really cute when I wear it with shorts and things like that as well once it gets really hot. So very chuffed with this, and I do find the quality of Karen's older pieces tends to be a little bit higher. Then the next item, this honestly, when I showed Luke this, he said to me, "Are we getting married again?" Because it is essentially, it's a wedding dress, but it's from Lover, it's from their White Magic collection. And when I saw this, I thought it could be a really beautiful special occasion piece. So a dress that I could wear when we go out for dinner, or if we have an event that is not a wedding. It is this really beautiful white lace dress, hopefully you can, I'll show you on the cutaway so you'll get a better sense, but it has these huge bat wing sleeves. It's made from French lace, which is absolutely divine, and then it has the satin silk trim on the ends of the sleeves and a scalloped lace hem. Now, I love everything from the White Magic collection. I just think it is such a beautiful, stunning collection. Lover has been one of my favorite brands since I was 15 and I'm now 31, so for a very long time. And I bought this because the price was unbelievable. It was $100 and this dress retailed for I think around $1,500. So for me, it was sort of a bit of a no-brainer, even if I was only going to get an opportunity to wear it a couple of times. Because with special occasion dresses like this, usually what I like to do is purchase something pre-loved, and then when I've gotten my wear out of it, I will on-sell it to someone else who can get a similar amount of joy from wearing it. But I just thought that this was absolutely stunning, something I could not pass up, and whenever I see items pop up from that White Magic collection, I always have to have a second look and see if it's in my budget to purchase. The last item I purchased from eBay recently is a serious throwback, something I've wanted since I was about 20 years old, and I'm going to kind of put this into context. So back then, one of the, I guess, first blogs that I really started reading was Sea of Shoes by Jane Aldridge. I think it's her last name. She might have changed it now that she's married. And she had the most amazing shoe collection. And she was a huge influence on my personal style at the time, her and Childhood Flame, and there were a couple of others. And when I saw these shoes on her, I just felt like I had to have them. At 21, I went to LA and I actually tried to find these shoes. They were around the $1,200 mark. So I mean, God knows why I was in the market for $1,200 shoes at 21 when I just finished university, but there you go. And they were completely sold out. They were so highly coveted. They were kind of, I guess, like the Bottega Veneta mule of the time. And I finally found them recently for a really good price, and they were brand new. I actually can't believe what a steal I got them for. The shoes in question, I should probably show you, are from Andamula Meester. And you may or may not be familiar with this brand. I find that she's a little bit edgier. I really love her designs, and there's a particular collection that she did. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I might put some pictures up on screen so you can see. Anyway, the shoes that I was on the hunt for 11 years now are these lace up, I guess they're almost like an open-toed bootie. However, your leg and your foot is completely exposed through the laces here on the front. And I just absolutely adored these when I saw them on Jane, and I kind of felt like I had to have them. And I finally managed to add them to my wardrobe. I think patience is really key if you've got your heart set on a very specific item. I will say that back when I really wanted to buy these, my style was definitely a lot edgier than it is now. Now I'd say it leans a lot more classic. However, this is still a shoe that I see myself wearing in the spring, summer, and I kind of can't wait to wear them once the weather warms up. And they've got a little block heel as well, so very comfortable. But yeah, can't believe I managed to find them brand new, never been worn, for such a steal. So those are the items that I've purchased pre-loved recently. Now let's talk a little bit about the tips and tricks, how I purchase things pre-loved and manage to come across the items that I've had on my wish list. The first thing I would recommend doing, whether you're shopping from an online consignment store or you're shopping on eBay or some other website, is to set up a saved search. So what I like to do is either set up a brand search, so just looking at all items from the brand without any kind of particular item in mind that I'm on the hunt for, or to set up a very specific search. For example, if I was looking for lace dresses from Lover, I would search Lover lace, and that would be my saved search. Or perhaps I'm looking for a skirt from Karen Walker and I put in Karen Walker skirt. So that is a way that I would kind of narrow down the search a little bit. You can even put your size in there. Not all sellers put the size in the listing though, so do keep in mind. I try to keep the terms as broad as possible. While it might mean that there are additional items that I need to sift through, it does mean that I'm not going to actually miss out on the actual item that I want to purchase. Second thing I think is so important to do is to thoroughly scrutinize the photographs and make sure that what you see matches up the condition stated in the description. Sometimes I have come across discrepancies, especially on eBay, and I think it is always worth asking the question, because when you're purchasing from somewhere like eBay, 9 times out of 10, or probably 10 times out of 10, you aren't going to be able to return the item. So you need to make sure that you're going to be happy with the condition of the item that you're purchasing, especially for the price that you're paying. Kind of on that point is to also check the returns policy. So if you're buying from an online consignment store, generally there will be some sort of returns policy. If you don't like the item, it doesn't fit you, it's not what you expected. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why I personally like shopping on The RealReal, because for most items, as long as they're not already discounted, it means that you can return them. And to me, that is a huge benefit, because when you are shopping pre-loved or secondhand, especially when you're shopping secondhand online, most of the time you can't return what you're buying. So it means that you need to either be able to accept the item for what it is and maybe be happy with something that is slightly subpar, or you need to be able to have the time and the motivation to actually sell that item on if it isn't going to work for you and you cannot return it. So that is definitely something that I would say keep in mind, and it might maybe mean for you that eBay is out completely because you want to make sure that you're able to return any secondhand items that you do not like. Next thing I would say is to shop only from brands where you are familiar with the sizing or where you're able to check the measurements. And this is a big one because sizing differs so much from brand to brand, which is generally why when I am purchasing pre-loved, you'll probably notice that the same brands come up again and again, and it's because I've purchased from them before or I've had the opportunity to try on one of their items in store, so I have a bit of a sense of how it's going to fit. If you're purchasing from a private seller, I think that you really need to make sure you have checked out their feedback history before going through with the purchase. This is very important because it gives you an insight into what they are like as a seller. Are they going to ship your item out quickly? Do they have integrity, and are they honest about the item descriptions? Is everything as stated? So just make sure that you check their feedback history, as that'll give you a lot of information and is also something that can help you feel really comfortable about purchasing from them, especially if it is a more expensive piece. Now, my next point is about authenticity, and this is something I get asked a lot about, especially because the items that I'm buying tend to be a little bit more expensive. And what I can say here is make sure you have done your research. Again, be really familiar with the brand that you are purchasing. If you're buying a designer handbag, use a third-party authenticator so that they can look at all of the details and let you know whether or not it is authentic, and then make sure that when you actually receive the product that you get it authenticated again, just so that it matches up. If you're buying something like this where you aren't 100% sure, I would also recommend buying with PayPal, because that offers you buyer protection. Having that protection in place not only gives you peace of mind, but it also will save you in the instance that you are sold an inauthentic item. I have fortunately never had to use this, but I do think that as long as you are very aware of what the item should look like, having looked at all of the branding and the quality of the piece, having seen it in person, or at least looking at lots of reviews so that you can see any telltale signs of something that is inauthentic or super fake, is something that will definitely help. Unfortunately, we do live in a time where there are super fakes, so you do just need to be conscious of this, just be wary and be really selective about who you shop from. My next point kind of carries on from the previous one, which is to make sure that you also inspect the items when you receive them, make sure it matches up with the description and is as stated. Again, if you've got that PayPal protection in place, you can always use that as a backup if needed, if you need to file some sort of a dispute. The final thing that I wanted to talk about is having patience when it comes to finding items. It can be really frustrating shopping secondhand because you do have to wait for the item to kind of come onto the pre-loved market. It has to be within your budget, and it has to be in the condition and in the size that you want it in. Sometimes you may find that you end up waiting years for that piece to pop up, and by then maybe your desire for that item has completely waned and you find it's no longer in line with your personal style. If that's the case, then you've saved yourself some money, but just be conscious that it is part and parcel of shopping pre-loved, and you may not always strike gold when it comes to finding a very specific piece. So those are my tips for how to shop pre-loved, and also a few pre-loved purchases that I've made recently. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I will leave some links to my favorite sellers and favorite stores where I like to look at pre-loved items down in the description box below, as well as some alternatives for these pieces if you kind of like the way they look, or you sort of feel like there's something missing from your wardrobe. So that is it from me today. If you're new here and you want to see more videos from me, I'd love if you could subscribe and hit the like button if you did enjoy it. I will see you next time with a brand new video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.